you kind of need to have a portfolio in
work.
order for that to happen. And building a portfolio is just a matter of test shoots. You test, you test, you test, you test, and you get better. And once brands see what you're capable of, they want to associate their products with whatever it is that you're doing.
And you're live on Dead Radio.
Welcome to another very special episode of Dead Radio with your boy Ini. And once again, we have a very, very special guest reporting live from the Dead Store. We're going to let our guest introduce herself, and then we're going to get into her life story. And you know how we do. Get those jewels for you guys to use in your everyday lives. So without further ado. Yeah.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Thank you. Shout out to you for joining us.
So my name is Julienne, aka Jules, because a lot of people can't pronounce Julienne.
Interesting.
And I'm a designer, stylist, and creative consultant.
An all-around fly person.
We try.
We try. I love that. Do you prefer Jules or Julienne?
It doesn't really matter. Yeah.
Okay. I think I'll go with Jules. Cool.
Yeah.
How I begin every episode of Dead Radio is to predict the future, right? We have to go into the past. And to know who Jules is today, we have to start her book at page 1, right? So tell me about Jules as a young girl. Where did you grow up? Were you an introvert? Were you an extrovert? Yeah, just tell me about little Jules running around.
I grew up predominantly in SA, but my parents are from two opposite ends of the world. So my dad is from Congo, my mom's from the US. We moved to South Africa when I was a kid. Previously, before that, I lived in a few different countries. Okay. And then we settled here, we moved here, and my parents were like, this is it. We don't want to go anywhere else.
This is where we're settling.
Yeah, this is where we're settling. Because my dad's job kind of moved him around quite a bit. Yeah, and little Jules.
Introvert, extrovert?
I think I was an extrovert until I became very aware of like the world and my existence and humans and not wanting to stand out too much. And then I became an extrovert, an introvert, sorry. Yeah. I think growing up in a foreign country and not knowing where I fit in, that also kind of turned me into a bit of an introvert.
I get that.
Yeah.
I get that. Yeah, it's always tough being an outsider trying to assimilate, right? Extrovert to introvert. Tell me where style comes from in terms of you. Like, are your parents stylish? Do you have a grandparent who's stylish? Like, because I always find that it comes from somewhere.
Yeah.
You get me?
Yeah.
Where does yours come from?
I think I want to say it's like a Congolese thing.
Okay. Yeah.
Congolese people love fashion.
Yeah.
So like my Congolese side of the family, very fashionable people.
Okay.
My dad is also he's very well dressed.
Okay.
You know, when he walks into a room, you can tell this
Presence.
person, you know, took some time to...
He put it together.
Yeah, to put himself together.
I love that.
I think that's probably something that I've grown up being inspired by. I don't think it was a conscious thing.
Of course.
But just him taking a lot of time to really put himself together, and regardless of where we were going, like you just knew he was going to wear a really well-structured suit or jacket.
Okay.
My mom's style is relatively chill. Like she's from Chicago. She's from, you know, she's from Chi-Town. She's a cool girl. Like, you know, so she's a jeans, sneakers, hoodie kind of girl. But going out, you know, anytime we went for dinner, she went to an event with my dad, she would dress up to the nines. So there was always that juxtaposition in her style. And my grandmother had an atelier. And so when I was really little, I think my introduction to fashion and clothing, textiles, was just playing around in her atelier, playing with fabrics, making clothes for my dolls.
Okay.
You know, the usual thing that,
Yeah.
you know, you hear
Yeah.
a lot of people who are in fashion, how they get their start. So mine was relatively typical, I would say.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I got introduced to fashion and clothing and textures and textiles at a very young age at home. It was something that just I did. I played with. I gravitated towards fabrics and clothes.
I get that.
Yeah.
I get that. I think the most important question I want to ask you while we're sitting here, the age-old question. Are you born with style, or is style something that you learn in the world? Because people who have style always say, oh, I was born with it. You can't have access to this. It has to come from your lineage. So from your perspective, are people only born with style, or can you learn style in the world?
You can definitely learn it. I think some people have inherent skills. You know, there's certain things that you have an affinity to when you're young. Maybe you gravitate towards color, or you're really good at sports. I think we all have like little bits of things that we're good at, skills and whatnot. And I think style is something that some people might have an affinity to and gravitate towards or have a knack for at a very young age. But I don't think that means that you're not able to acquire style to become a stylish person.
I think
that. Anybody can become stylish.
I feel that.
Yeah, like it's not something that, you know, if you're not born with it, you will, you know,
Then
forever
it's
be someone who
lucked out.
Yeah,
I get that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've always had a problem with that. So every stylish person who comes on Dead Radio, I'm always like, let me pick your brain and find out what you think, right? Style is something that you learn in the world. Doesn't necessarily have to come from your lineage. But if it does come from your lineage, I mean, it salt bays it.
Yeah, it does add a little something.
Yeah.
But it's definitely something that you can learn.
I hear that.
Yeah, for sure.
So how does little jewels transform into bigger jewels? The teenagers. Teenagers are always such formative years for anyone, like, because so much of who you are comes out and becomes defined, right? So how does young Jules transition to those teenage high school years? Do you get deeper into like fashion? Like, what happens then?
I did. And the reason was because I think I wanted to find a way to not feel so shy and so weird and awkward, because I was a bit of an artsy fartsy kid.
Okay.
So one of the first schools that I went to was this school. It's called a Waldorf school. It's a German system, and it was a very international school, and it was super artsy fartsy. Like we would study things like, we would take a country and we would study its entire history. So for example, Egypt. We went so far as learning how to make papyrus,
crazy,
writing in hieroglyphics, learning all about the pharaohs. I absolutely loved it. It was
Can you understand?
No, not anymore.
But that's crazy.
Sign language. So we learned how to sign and communicate in sign language. Just so many different things, the kind of things that you don't expect to learn out of, I guess, a regular school. Yeah. And so that really introduced me to the world of just being creative and exploring and not questioning too much about what something looked like, but more so the expression of the outcome of whatever it is that you were producing. So writing, painting, sewing, knitting, like those are all things that I did at school at a pretty young age. And I went from that to then going to a regular Model C type school where now I'm wearing school uniform. There's a curriculum. It's just a completely different structure.
Your hair can't get longer.
Yeah, because at my previous school we were wearing civvies, you know, so I could come in school dressed as whatever. We just weren't allowed to have branding, but we could wear whatever we wanted. And so now going to school where I had to wear a uniform, and I was like a more I was kind of alternative.
Yeah.
And so I somewhat had to assimilate. So even the way that I dress kind of had to change because I didn't continue to want to be this weird kid that just stood out. And on top of being a foreigner, having an accent, but you're also like weird and artsy fartsy. And I was like, okay, I need something. I need something to help me fit in. And I think that's when I really got into fashion, and I was conscious of how the world perceived me based on how I was dressed. And so I remember very clearly, I think it must have been in the 7th grade maybe, we were sitting in class and a teacher said, let's get in a circle and I want everyone to say something positive about everyone. So starting off with Sarah, for example, then everyone goes around, Sarah's really funny, or she's got a great smile. And when it got to me, pretty much everyone said, Jules dresses really nicely. Ooh. And I was like, oh. And that somewhat started, I think that was kind of the beginning of me having this aha moment that oh, okay, this is a thing. The way that I dress allows people to see me in a certain way. So my weirdness and everything else, I can hide that. But I can present myself in a certain way and then people will just assume that I'm normal.
I get that.
Yeah.
Shit, that's crazy. Yeah, and it's so crazy that how you dress communicates your story to the world, even if it's the tiniest bit of your story. And that is a great way to assimilate to a group, right?
Yeah.
How you dress.
Yeah.
Damn, that's crazy. So, end of high school, right? Another super important part in anyone's life, right? What's your perspective on career path then? Because that's another place where young people have to figure out, okay, now I'm about to step out into the world. What am I going to do? So what were you thinking?
I wasn't.
Okay.
The first time I ever considered a career path, I must have been in maybe 8th, 9th grade. Okay. And I watched, this is kind of cringe, but I watched Save the Last Dance. And I was dancing at the time. So dancing was another form of escapism for me. So I've kind of always found, ways to express myself or to escape through the arts in some way, shape, or form. And so dancing was essentially that thing. And I remember Julia Stiles' character was applying to Juilliard, and I was like, oh my gosh, I want to go to Juilliard. I want to be a dancer.
I hear that.
And after that, I think I kind of forgot about it because I got into other sports, I got into drama. And when all my other friends were applying, and most of them studied actuary and medicine.
Okay.
And then I was like, I'm not going to do any of those
things. I'm not doing that.
And then even after matric vac, I still had no idea what I was doing. And my mom was like, you really need to consider studying fashion. Of course. I was thinking of taking a gap year just to kind of figure it out because I was just never someone who saw myself having a traditional job. But I don't think I conceptualized the idea of going into fashion and turning that into a career. Yeah. And so after matric vac, everyone's getting their results. I'm like, I should probably figure out where I'm going to go to school. And everyone was going to Cape Town. I was like, okay, let me go to Cape Town. And I looked into fashion schools in Cape Town. I applied, I got in. I was like, oh my gosh, yes, I'm going to go to college. Which was great. It was more like not experiencing FOMO because all my friends were there, and I wanted to be with my friends, and I also wanted to be doing something. Since everyone was studying and taking their lives and their futures very seriously, I had to try to do the same thing. And so it worked out. I went to fashion school and I studied fashion, and yeah.
What specifically did you go and study? Because fashion is such a broad term field, and there's so many disciplines within fashion.
Yes.
So what did you specifically go and study?
I studied fashion and later on textiles, but predominantly fashion design. Okay. So the making of garments from start to finish and starting a brand, or I guess working for a buyer or as a buyer.
Yeah, as a buyer.
So those are the two avenues that a lot of people in my school either went into. I think most went into more buying.
Buying, yeah.
And some of them didn't even use their fashion degrees.
Of course not.
Most of them, I think.
Yeah, most
actually.
people that go and study.
But yeah, so that's what I studied essentially.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what happens next in your journey? Like after leaving school? Like what's your perspective? Do you start working for someone? Like walk me through the next phase of leaving school. Because it's great to go and get that piece of paper and be like, yo, I have a degree.
Yeah.
But then now you have to step into the real world.
Yeah.
Right? So what happens next for you?
I went into buying.
Okay.
As like a assistant and then junior, but it wasn't even that long. I think I did buying for maybe a year and a half. And then there was this competition called El Rising Star Design Awards. And I have been obsessed with that competition since I was in high school, I think.
Okay.
And following the different designers' journeys. But I don't think I ever thought to myself, I could do this. I could be a designer. I just loved what they did. And I think because I just love fashion so much, but I never made the connection that I think you love it because this is something that you want to do. And now that I had studied fashion, I had the skills, I was like, okay, maybe I should try to enter this competition. And I did, and I got in. And it was such an incredible experience. And I think it gave me the guts, I suppose, to start a fashion brand, which I later did.
Yes.
And yeah, it was quite an experience because I don't think I intended on starting a brand that early. I kind of just shot my shot with this competition and I got in and I'm like, oh, I guess I have to kind of be serious about this
now
right
I have to like
and I think my entire journey has been like that. It's never really been anything that has been planned. I mean, after that, I had a brand. I had it for maybe 2-3 years, stopped that, went into creative consulting, stopped that, went into freelance design and designing for other people, stopped that, went into manufacturing where I had a small manufacturing company, stopped that, went into textiles. Like, so I've kind of meandered through the industry.
I get that. You're just collecting the fashion infinity stones.
That's a really good way of putting it.
I love that.
And it makes me feel good about my journey, just kind of, taking so many different turns that were completely unexpected.
I get that. I get that. We've sat with quite a number of people who are in the fashion industry, in different departments, in different fields. And some of them have been buyers like yourselves. But one golden thread I seem to find is that people don't enjoy being buyers. Why is that? What happens like...
To be honest, I wasn't even in buying long enough to say why, but I can somewhat understand because I was working under a buyer.
I get that.
And I think the goal was, okay, I'm going to work for this buyer and then I'm going to work my way up. And then, it was so exciting to kind of experience having a job.
Yeah. Structure.
And that job structure. Because I was like, oh, yes, okay. I'm not just a fashion girly. Because I think that also became my identity. And having so many friends, my closest friends aren't in fashion, aren't even artists.
Yeah, they went to study medicine.
At least my friends that I grew up with, my best friend's a doctor, so
I feel you.
I also wanted to have that structure of like being a serious, because now we're out of college and we're serious, we're getting jobs. And so I was like, okay, yeah, I'm a buyer. I work in an office. This is really cool. But I get to work with clothes, which is really dope.
Which is
still
even
feels
better.
like me.
I get that.
And I think the exciting part was the structure and the idea of working my way up to being a head buyer where I could travel, bring the clothes back. But I think if you really are a true creative and you want that freedom, buying really isn't it.
Yeah.
Especially if you're working for a very corporate company that's producing clothes for the masses and just selling clothes to the masses. I think there's something about it that really does kill your creativity. Even if you are in a space like fashion, where you get to work with clothes, and it should be exciting, but it becomes extremely repetitive, and there's this routine, and then you kind of have a 9 to 5, but you're working with clothing.
With clothes, I get that.
So you want to make yourself feel better about the fact that it is somewhat mundane, but I think it's more for people who don't necessarily have that love for fashion and design and storytelling. If you are a storyteller at heart, which I believe I am, you're not going to love buying. Your storytelling capabilities are...
There is no storytelling because you're selling to the masses.
You're selling to the masses, and you want to trick yourself into believing that you're telling a story, but not really. You're not affecting change. You're not expressing yourself. And I think I'm glad that I got out of it very quickly, because I probably would have stayed just because stability and I have a job and, there's a path.
I get that. I get that.
Yeah.
Being a buyer sounds like creating soapies and telenovelas, and then stepping outside of that sounds like making movies.
Yes.
You get me?
Yeah.
Like, because telenovelas and soapies, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
That this one's going to break up with this one. She's going to cheat with that.
Exactly.
Every week. I get that.
Yeah.
I completely get that. How do you get into styling, right?
Oof. Man, I stumbled into styling.
Once again.
Yeah, it was not the plan at all.
Okay.
I had a friend who was here. She was visiting from LA, and she's a photographer and a stylist as well. She's now also a director, and she does a number of different things. And we had met previously in Cape Town many years ago when I had a brand, and she was styling some of my pieces for some editorials that she was working on overseas. So we reconnected, and she's like, I really want to be able to see you and spend time with you. Come to set. I'm only here for like a couple days. Come to set. If you have clothes that you want, come to set. If you have clothes that you want to have photographed and featured, bring them, and cool, let's do this. And at the time, it made a lot of sense because I had a design studio and a small CMT. Yes. So I was like, ooh, this is great because it advertises the pieces that we've made. And therefore, we'll be able to acquire new designers and more people that we can manufacture for. So that was my aim, like to just be able to advertise my design studio.
Of course.
And I got to set, and she's like, well, since you're here, why don't you style? And I was like, ooh, not a stylist. And it was extremely intimidating because, being a designer and even having a design studio and manufacturing, I worked with stylists, and I had such respect for what they did and how they were able to take my collection and my pieces and transform it into something else. I'm like, ooh, I didn't even picture that you could pair that with that. And here you are, you've done something really great. And so for me, just, thinking about having to do this, I felt like such a fraud. And also, I just felt like I didn't have the skills. And she's like, no, it's,
don't worry.
It's not a big deal. Just go ahead, do it. And I was like, okay, cool. Why not? And there was a director on set that day who liked what I was doing. And he's like, oh, I'm going to put you in contact with somebody, and we're working on a project, and I think you'd be great for it. And here I'm thinking, great, more advertising for my design studio. Yes. So I thought a stylist would contact me to be able to pull pieces, but instead the director contacted me and said, hey, I heard that you're a stylist and we're looking for this. And I really wanted to just tell them, I'm not a stylist, but I can give you clothes. And she was like, would you be interested in styling this project? I was like, sure, why not? Send me the treatment, let's see. And I thought to myself, if I see the treatment and, I feel like this is something that I can do, then I'll take on the project. It turned out that the treatment was very in line with my personal aesthetic and a lot of the samples that I had in my studio. And so I was like, okay, dope. And that was my first music video, and it happened to be Elaine, you know? And I was
Crazy.
it was her first, I think it was her first music video, actually. You're the One.
You're the One.
Yeah.
My dog. That is such an iconic music. You styled that, and that was your first real styling gig.
Yeah. And it was weird. Can I tell you something even more crazy? So the shoot that I was on with my friend, where she had me style, the first person that I actually styled was Tyler. But before Tyler was Tyler,
of course.
You know, she was just this really cute kid, you know, and I'm being told to like dress her. I'm like, all right, cool. I don't really know what I'm doing.
For that shoot.
Yeah, for that shoot that I wasn't supposed to style, that I was supposed to just bring clothes. It was Tyler, it was Fila, and there was another guy who's a musician. I can't remember his name. And I kind of forgot about it until Tyler started and I was like, hey.
I remember her.
That was my first time on a set. That's so crazy. So I've had a few of those kind of incidences where in hindsight, I was like, oh, I think this was God telling you that like, this is where you're meant to be. There were just too many coincidences that happened like that. And that just kept happening. And then I had to call myself a stylist because people were referring me to other people. I was getting more work, and I was like, I think I'm a stylist now.
And it just snowballed into
Damn. Yeah.
Styling chose you. You didn't choose styling.
It definitely chose me.
That's incredible.
It definitely chose me.
Shit.
And I had to just kind of roll with it and keep it moving, and close my design studio because I started getting more styling gigs than I was with manufacturing. And so I was like, okay, well, yeah.
What pays the bills?
Yeah.
I get that.
Yeah.
I'm always super interested in practical advice, right? Because there are going to be people watching this who are like, yo, I think I'm pretty stylish. I think I could put fits together, right? But styling is such an abstract art, right? Like you can't put your finger on it, right? And there isn't an A to Z book you can read on how to become a stylist, right? So how do you actually become great at styling? Because there's so many disciplines, like being a photographer. You take 1,000 pictures, you're gonna keep getting better and better, right? But something so abstract as styling, like, and maybe this might be difficult for you to answer. I'm just asking. How do you actually work on the craft of becoming a stylist and getting better at this abstract thing that you can't even put your fingers on?
And it is really abstract. And I think part of why it is, it's because there's so many different types of styling. And I think exploring the different, the different ways that you can style in the different industries that you can work within styling, I feel like they're different
subgenres.
So you can be, styling has, the different categories, I suppose. So personal styling is completely different to commercial styling. Which is completely different to e-commerce. And then print is also quite different because that's still images. And so I think anyone wanting to become really good at styling, either focus on a lane and whether it's commercial styling, personal styling, or whatever, and do as much of that as possible. Or try it all out, which is something that I did, because I wasn't sure what kind of stylist I wanted to be. And so I somewhat found myself navigating music videos, commercial, print, editorials, personal styling, working with celebrities, And there's stylists who only focus on one thing.
Yes.
And you get really, really, really good at that. I'm still trying to get to a point where I'm like, which one thing are you going to focus on?
I get you.
Because I really do enjoy I really do enjoy the different areas that I style. So
I know
I don't even think I answered your question. I just said a whole bunch of things.
But I think it's a
question.
difficult question to answer. I haven't met anyone who's actually been able to tell me. It's because it's so difficult.
It is,
like,
and I still don't consider myself great.
I get you.
So I'm just like, how do I, help someone get to some place where I don't feel like I've gotten to yet.
I get you.
I feel like I'm still learning and evolving. It's not like I have 20 years under my belt. I haven't been doing this for as long.
I get you.
But definitely repetition and breaking down every image that you enjoy, every image that you love, everything that you gravitate towards, whether it's someone's particular style, or you really love magazines, or you're really into film or music videos. As someone who styles, you have to look at that and break it apart. Ask yourself the questions: why does it work? Why does it not work? What do I like about it? And once you reverse engineer that, you start figuring out, okay, I see certain patterns of something that is aesthetically pleasing and why that works. And I see why, like, when I look at that person and my eye is kind of twitching, I'm starting to figure out, okay, that doesn't work because of this and this and that. Yeah. And I think the more you study style and fashion through different mediums, I think the better you understand what makes an image or an outfit look good and what works and what doesn't work. So the difference with where I'm at now, in comparison to where I was before, is I'm able to look at my own work and say, I see why that didn't work. And I can make that switch. Whereas before I'm like, I don't like it, but I can't tell you why. Something's just not working here. But now I'm like, oh, okay, it's because of this and because of that and because of that. And the more I do that, I feel like the better I get.
You're breaking it down to a science.
Yeah.
Because it takes, once you break it down to a science, it removes it from abstract to now it's more concrete.
Yes.
Okay, black and white works because of this.
Yes.
A cap works because of this.
Yes.
I understand.
And then you also start finding your point of view within that. You're like, ooh, this works, but I would add that. And then that gives it that thing that feels special, that feels like it's you or your point of view or your stamp.
I get that.
Which I'm also in the process of still somewhat figuring out. Again, I don't think I answered your question.
No, I think you did. I think you did. Figure it out, reverse engineer it, try and break it down to the most basic elements, and then build from there.
Yeah.
Right? I hear that.
Yeah.
As someone who's played in both fields, right? In terms of being a designer who makes garments, and then someone who styles people, who puts people in garments. Which one feeds your soul more? Was it seeing someone wearing something that you've designed, or putting together an outfit for someone's aesthetic?
That's such a good question.
Because I mean, they work hand in hand, but they're different.
They do. And that's a very good question. They do different things for me. So as a designer, I have a lot more creative freedom. It's not so much about, especially if I'm designing from my own imagination, it's not a brief. I get to decide what it is I want to put together, how I want to put it together, and hope that someone likes it, but I'm not altering it because I'm like, think someone will like it if I do X, Y, and Z. If I make these alterations, I'm like, this is just the idea that I have in my mind. I'm going to put it together. If somebody likes it, great. If not, okay, well, it is what it is. And that allows me to express myself very differently. So I think being a designer for me personally is selfish, and I like that. I like to be able to just do what I want to do without having anybody tell me how to do it. You know, it's an idea that I have in my head and I'm able to give birth to it. Whereas being a stylist, it's not so much that, it's more being of service. And I enjoy that as well. I enjoy being able to help someone bring their idea to life, an idea of how they want to feel, how they want to present themselves to the world. I'm able to kind of give them the tools through fashion, I guess, and a look to express themselves. And so I'm more of an aid.
I hear that.
Than I am an artist.
Yeah.
There are times that, if it's a test shoot or an editorial, I get to just do whatever. And the beautiful thing is being able to pull from other brands and designers. And, I get to tell the story with other people's products, which I think is incredible. And that's tricky because now I have to make this garment, this designer, that brand, tell a story that feels cohesive. Whereas if I'm designing something from it's cohesive because it's me, it's all me. It's I don't have to alter anything unless it's something that I don't know how to make. Then I'm like, let's maybe try a different way to design this or put this together. But it feels as though it's very much a true expression of self.
I get that.
Rather than putting these pieces together and creating a new story, which is beautiful in and of itself, but it does feed a different part of me and satisfy a different part of my creativity.
I get that.
Yeah.
I get that. With stylists, I'm always super interested in sourcing, right? Where you guys go to different brands and different people to get clothes for your styling gigs, right? But once again, on a practical level, how do you build a network of people that will allow you to go and get clothes from them? Because when you had a brand, it's easy. I'll just make the clothes, right? But then now, when you have to hit up whatever, Puma or whatever brand it is or did, what are the practical steps of creating a network with brand owners where they trust you with because that's a very important part of your job.
Very important.
Right? But what are the practical steps? Do you DM people? I'm just trying to open source styling for people who are going to watch this and be like, yo, I think actually I would love to go and be a stylist.
Yeah.
But what are the practical things? Do you DM brand designers or at shoots? How does that actually happen?
So you definitely have to contact as many people as possible, because I think oftentimes you have an idea of what you want something to look like. Or let's take an editorial for an example. You have an idea of the looks that you want to put together, and you're probably only going to get 50% of those looks. Just because people either don't reply to you, or they don't know you, or the garments aren't available. So you have to really, really pull. And in order to do that, you definitely have to get in contact with as many people as possible. But those people need to know so many things about the shoot. So obviously you're the stylist, the photographer, the models or talent, the publication. When you have all of those things, it's easier for the brand to agree to loaning you these pieces. And then you start developing that relationship with them. Now, you kind of need to have a portfolio in order for that to happen. And building a portfolio is just a matter of test shoots. You test, and you get better. And once brands see what you're capable of, they want to associate their products with whatever it is that you're doing. And so, yeah, when you're sourcing from brands, it is really important to have some kind of portfolio, because your portfolio also shows a track record, and brands are somewhat able to trust that you can deliver an image.
Of course.
There's some brands, for certain shoots, I won't go to certain brands because I know that their brand doesn't align with this product or this shoot. So commercials, I don't really pull from brands and designers for commercials, unless it's like a really big commercial with a big brand, and maybe the brand is international, because then I know that there's some kind of alignment there that will benefit the brand or the designer. So for commercials, I'll typically pull from stores, and production will give me the budget to do that, and then you're able to kind of buy and together. Whatever rent. But when it comes to building those relationships, definitely having a portfolio works, and a body of work, that the brands want to be associated with. I know that when I was a designer, there are some people that I wouldn't just let anybody pull my stuff, because I would look at their work and I'm like, now my clothing is going to be associated with that, and I don't really like the way that looks. It doesn't feel like it's in alignment with my brand. So I'm quite conscious of that as well, because I have that background of
I get you.
Being a designer, and then
stone.
Yeah.
Okay, interesting. And as a stylist, right? Is it better to be, I'm talking about financially, by the way, is it better to be a commercial stylist or a personal stylist? Because I'm assuming that commercial gigs don't come as frequent as personal styling. So do you need to mix both of them to have a career as a stylist, or can you pick either one?
You can pick, and more stylists, at least the ones that I know, choose commercial styling over personal styling.
Okay.
The stylists that you see doing some of these really, really big campaigns, they focus on that. They don't necessarily do personal styling. Yeah. Because personal styling it's intense.
Is it?
It's intense in this in the sense that you get very attached, especially if you're working with a client consistently. It's very personal. You also sometimes become someone's therapist. There isn't always a disconnect. You have to there's a certain level of empathy and patience that personal styling takes. You're building a relationship with someone. You go out and you're sourcing, and you're always seeing things that work for your client. You're consistently coming up with mood boards and looks. You're really building with this person. You're helping them build their wardrobe on a personal level. You're not able to always be there with them to pin things and make things, because this is real life. It's not make-believe. Because commercials is make-believe. You can kind of pin things and manipulate things, but personal styling, it has to actually fit, because this person is going out into the real world. There's a 360 view of them. You just have to, and you have to make sure that they feel really confident. And then also commercials have bigger budgets, whereas personal styling, you have to have a lot of clients and a lot of consistent clients in order to make quite a good bit of money, or like high-end clients that, have the money to spend or want to redo their wardrobes, and you're helping them build like a capsule collection and shop for them or whatever. But commercial styling definitely pays more, at least here. I see things are shifting a little bit, but locally, commercial styling is
still at the top.
It's still at the top, yeah.
I get that.
You get paid a lot more.
I hear that. I hear that. Yeah, I'm just trying to open source styling so people actually understand all the moving parts. As someone who's been around, seen things, worked in different sides of fashion, what's your perspective on the fashion space in South Africa through a 2025 lens? Are you happy with the brands? Do you feel like people should be doing more? Like, what's your perspective?
My perspective is I want as many people to buy into local brands as possible. I'm really big on African brands and local brands. I think there's so many stories that we tell through our fabrics, through our collections, and through our brands that I don't think the majority of people have tapped into. And part of that is because we're still looking at international brands as the pinnacle of success.
Of course.
You know, you look at it, and I completely understand why. You know, they have legacy. We're building legacy. And I would really love for more people to help local brands build their legacies by investing in local brands. I think that that's something that's extremely important. And one of the things that I really love about South Africans is that they support South Africans.
Yeah, 1000%.
You know, like South Africans will support a South African, and I really, really love that. And I'm seeing that shift. So I'm hoping that there's more of that. That people are really conscious of where they shop. And look, it is very easy to shop at fast fashion brands or your Zara's and whatever, because I definitely do that too. But having more, and having a lot, I would love to see more collaborations between your big brands like your Woolies and your Edgars and whatever, with smaller brands, just to kind of help funnel them into the market, to help them with manufacturing, to help them actually produce, because it is really tough to be a designer and to sell and move product.
It is.
But I do see that there's a shift. I see that there's a shift with the younger generation. I think millennials and Gen Z are more excited about supporting local brands than maybe the older generation. I could be wrong, but it's also my personal take based on, you know, the clients that I work with. I have a lot of clients who are older and they want pieces that make them feel established. And for them, established looks a certain way. It doesn't necessarily look like supporting a young designer. And I would love for that to change and for, you know, more people to have the perspective of that pride. And again, you're seeing a lot more of it.
Yeah.
And I think that that's something that really excites me.
I see that.
Yeah, we just need to keep doing that.
We're going to get there.
Yeah.
Brick by brick.
Yeah.
T-shirt by t-shirt. We're going to get there.
Yeah.
Another question about practical advice, right? We're in 2025. Say Jules was 18, right? And she wanted to go down, cut through all those infinity stones that you collected and go straight to styling, right? How would you build your brand with the knowledge that you have, but without any of the connections? How would you redo this?
I do want to preface this by saying that it's definitely possible to build a good network of people from scratch and to acquire a community without knowing a single person when you start. When I started in styling, I didn't really have a community. Actually, I didn't. You know, I had to figure everything out on my own, and then I started getting to know people. And again, because a lot of my friends don't come from that fashion, like styling, creative background, I had to acquire a whole new community as a stylist.
From scratch.
And so it's definitely possible. And the other thing that I absolutely love about being an artist and a creative and a stylist in South Africa is that I think people are so open to sharing knowledge and giving and mentoring, and just that aspect of community feels real here, where I don't think that that's necessarily always the case everywhere else. There's this, you know, desire to be able to, okay, I have this knowledge, I need to share this. Oh, okay, we're not trying to gatekeep everything. And I think that that's something that's really inspiring. So I would say Start off by building a portfolio. Building a portfolio means hit up photographers, makeup artists, models. And if you're having a hard time figuring out where to even source these people, go onto agencies' pages, so different creative agencies or, creative agencies essentially. Look through a list of different photographers. Some of them are really, really good, so they're not going to want to work with people who are just starting off. Yeah. But then look at who has assisted them. Follow them on Instagram or stalk them on Instagram. You don't have to follow them if you don't want to, but see who has assisted them. A lot of times their assistant photographers are also going to want to build their own portfolios. Hit up those assistant photographers. Makeup artists, if you're looking for the best, cool, go there, but then maybe see who assisted them. So find people who are also on your level so you can build together. Because I think sometimes what we end up doing is we're like, okay, I want to become a stylist, and now you're hitting up top brands, top photographers, and it's like, girl, boy,
who are you?
You don't have a portfolio, but it's definitely doable and possible. And shoot, test. It's something that I say now, but I did not do as many test shoots as I still don't do as many test shoots as I should. And I think I was fortunate in that I then just got roped into getting jobs, and part of that was because I have a fashion background and I understand dressing people. So dressing people and working with clothing wasn't a foreign concept to me. Being able to deliver on a brief, because with all my journey of collecting infinity stones, the one thing that has been consistent is I've had a brief. As a freelance, creative consultant, as a designer, as, someone who had small manufacturing, I had a brief that I needed to deliver. And that's what helped me with styling. So understand a brief, even if it's a matter of asking somebody that hey, could you give me a brief? Tell me that you want 3 looks, these are the brand colors, so that you start understanding what it's like to create for somebody else. Because a lot of times as a stylist, more often than not, especially if you're going into commercial styling, that's what you have to do. It's not just about how great you are and how creative you are. It's how your ability to collaborate, your ability to listen, and your ability to essentially meet the brief. The director says, I'm looking for this kind of person, and this is my character, and I want to dress her like this. You have to be able to figure out how to make that happen.
I get that.
Yeah, even if you are really dope at other things, the brief is really, really important.
I hear that.
Yeah.
I hear that. I love that. I'm always super interested in how creative people pour back into themselves, right? Because we spend so much time pouring out into the world, right? How do you pour back into yourself in terms of things that have nothing to do with fashion? Are there things?
There are things.
Rituals?
There are things. I've recently gone back into being active. I think I've been a little bit lazy in the past couple of months, but I've gotten back into like tennis, for example.
Ooh, dope.
And exercise really helps. It helps to just relieve some of the pressure. And I think because our industries, because you're working with so many people, it requires a lot of patience, and I can't afford to lose it on set. I have to remain calm, even if things are burning around me.
Of course.
I typically tend to be the one that's
the
really
calmest
calm.
person.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, and I think, making sure that I stay active, that definitely helps. I love spending time in nature. That's where that artsy-fartsy girl, barefoot.
Yeah, that's where she comes back.
Don't let the boots fool you.
I love that. I love that.
I really enjoy spending time in nature and spending time with the people that I love, because my closest, now I have a community of creatives and other stylists that I'm really close with, but just spending time with them and we talk about life, and we share a really good meal and we have a great conversation and we're encouraging each other. That is golden.
I hear that.
Praying and meditating definitely helps. It helps also keep me calm and grounded. Yeah, I have a variety of different things that I do.
Yeah, it's always super important for you to pour your back into yourself.
Yeah, and it's hard.
It's very.
Because you want to pour into other people.
Of course, but you can't forget yourself, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm still learning, and I think it's a journey for so many of us. Finding that, I want to say balance, but balance, I don't believe in balance. I don't think balance isn't.
It's an imaginary concept.
Thank you.
It doesn't exist.
It doesn't exist.
Like, it's not a real thing.
No,
like,
it doesn't. No.
50-50.
No.
Like, that doesn't exist.
It doesn't.
Right?
It doesn't.
Okay, dope. You spoke about community. And I'm always interested in how creatives deal with competition, right? Competition is such an important aspect of life.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And
there's constructive competition where you're inspired by your peers and you're like, yo, that shoot that you did, that was amazing. I'm inspired. And then there's this person is my rival and I'm gonna make sure that how do you deal with competition in your space? Because creatives like to run away from it. Oh no, we're not competing. It's like, no, competition is a real thing in the world, whether people admit it or not.
You're not gonna like my answer then.
Oh no.
So
let's all be friends.
No, I'm just not a competitive person. And I'll give you an example. When I was younger, I played a variety of different sports, and one of the sports that I played was athletics, and I was a competitive athlete.
Of course.
So I ran, I would win. I hated winning. One of the reasons I stopped running and I stopped athletics is because I did not want to win, because I hated the feeling of what it made anybody else feel like, and also any attention that came with that. It was weird. My dad laughs at me all the time. He's like, we could have paid for you to go to school, like you could have gotten a scholarship. I was like, he's like, but you're not competitive. That's why you stopped playing sports.
Interesting.
Really not competitive.
You're an empath.
I am too much.
That's crazy. I've never heard anyone say that. I used to beat niggas.
I hated it so much. Oh my gosh.
You'd perceive how they feel about the losses.
Yeah,
that's amazing,
I hated that.
bro.
And so I really am not competitive.
Okay.
I've started competing with myself, which is such a cliche thing to say, I suppose, but just previous versions of myself, I'm like, you can do better. And so that's where the competitive aspect comes in. But I am a really, let's all be friends. Let's try to figure out how this works. And I'm happy for you if you win. If I didn't get a job that somebody else got, it is what it is, because that job wasn't for me. And perhaps I often wonder if, and someone did actually tell me this, they were like, if you were more competitive, you'd be further along in life. And I was like, wow, thanks. He was like, I just need you to have, I just need you to show your haters. I'm like, who are my haters? Like, I don't understand that talk.
But you see, now that's destructive competition.
And I think that that's how some people see it, because I don't know what constructive and healthy competition looks like. And perhaps it's there, but I haven't recognized it.
And tapped
and I haven't been able to call it out for what it is. But yeah.
Okay. I respect that.
Yeah, I know.
Although I'm like, it's cool. I'll let you slide.
If that changes, I'll let you know one day.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Anything exciting that you're working on or planning at all?
Yes, I am working on launching a platform that focuses on catering to my private clients and personal styling, and helping people build their wardrobes and their personal styles and being able to express themselves through clothing. And I, what inspired this was working with a lot of my private clients who seem to have a lot of similar issues, where I have these clothes, but I don't really know how to put them together. What works, what doesn't work? Why do I keep shopping and I'm not actually wearing the stuff?
The clothes, yeah.
How do I keep my wardrobe organized? How do I build a capsule collection? How do I get rid of the things that I have but I want to hold on to, but I don't really know how to let them go? And so just being able to share as much knowledge as possible. I say for my private clients, but it's essentially anybody who's interested in fashion, styling, and wanting to elevate and understand their personal style and also develop a personal style. Yeah, outside of that, I'm working on being able to express myself as a creative.
Yeah.
And that's a little bit further down the line, but relaunching my textile brand. I started one and then COVID hit. And it never really saw the light of day. And I definitely need, we spoke about being able to express yourself as a creative versus consistently responding to a brief. And so I'm creating this platform for myself, or the space for myself to be able to just create freely without a brief, without considering what anybody might think. It's just me being able to create as an artist, because I think it's really important for me to do that.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. This has been a fire conversation. Like, I feel like you're super calm now from before when we began. Yeah. And as we wind this down, right, what's Jules' last piece of advice to the dreamers out there? There's probably a young Jules out there who's searching for her infinity stones in different spaces, and it's like trying to figure out, where's my path? How do I find what I'm supposed to do? What's Jules' last piece of advice?
Whew.
To the dreamers.
To the dreamers.
To the dreamers
I'm
out
a
there.
dreamer.
Yeah.
Your dream is valid. That gnawing feeling that you have that's consistent, that never really goes away, that idea that pops up in the middle of the night and you're trying to suppress it, please don't. There's something that you're supposed to give birth to. And that feeling is never going to go away. If you have a dream and you really want to do something, and let's say it's been a year, 2 years, 5 years, and you're like, yeah, there was a time I really wanted to start this or start that, and it just hasn't gone away, it isn't going to. You have to tap into that. It's not going to be easy. Just because you have a dream doesn't mean that things are going to happen
Of course not.
perfectly. And, but give yourself grace when you start. I think a lot of people, and perhaps that's maybe my advice. Forget the first part I said. We can edit that out.
Okay, cool.
Give yourself grace when you start. It's not going to look the way that you envision it in your head, especially if you are someone who's a perfectionist or you're extremely hard on yourself. It's going to look messy, and that's okay.
Very messy.
But don't let that make you feel like, oh, this is all I can do. This is all I'm capable of. You have to consistently do something in order to get to the better version of yourself. So give yourself grace and be kind to yourself. It's okay that you failed. It's okay that you didn't get it right. It's okay that you don't have all the tools in your toolkit in order to build this dream out. Be kind to yourself and give yourself grace. And there are people out there that are willing to help you, to assist you, and to give you advice. You just need to seek them out. Don't try to do everything yourself. I'm the kind of person that started off doing that because I have a hard time asking for help. I'd rather struggle on my own and figure it out. And I've had to teach myself to stop doing that. But if you can start by asking for help in the beginning, especially when you feel stuck, you're gonna get somewhere.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me.
This has been dope. Please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and we'll be back with another episode of Dead Radio from your boy Ini.